So Mary Helen, one of the key things we talk about a lot on the Business Growth Programme is the difference between working on the business and working in the business. Can you explain a little bit about that?
I can, David. It's one of those very simple ideas which are incredibly difficult to do. And there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to do it. And I think mainly they involve risk. So if you don't start as an owner-manager to work on your business, it goes wrong. It'll go pear-shaped on you. Your strategic horizon will change and you won't see it. So if you think about what's happened to businesses in the last year or so, a year ago, you could be a successful business selling to government and your market just disappeared. 2 years before that, you could have been a successful business selling into another B2B, business to business, and a technological advance could have just simply taken your product or your service away. And so that strategic sightline is incredibly important to get. The other side of that is, of course, that you work as an owner-manager every day in the business. You uncover things that should happen and don't happen. You look at the business and you see where the improvements need to be. You're the leader, you're the energy maker, you're the person that drives the business forward. If you take a step back and you don't do that anymore, and you focus on the thing you really need to focus on, which is the strategic sight line, what's going to happen to the day-to-day business? How do you get yourself out of the noise, out of the turmoil of a day-to-day operational activity and into strategy without throwing the baby away with the bathwater? It's difficult.
So how do people take the first step then, Mary Helen, to begin to work on the business rather than in it?
Okay, so I think there are two key things they really need to focus on. The first one is their measures, and the second one is their people. So with the measures, most owner-managers of small to medium-sized businesses look at now, they look at measures around management accounts. So they'll look at the profit and loss, they'll probably look at margin, they'll certainly look at cash these days, definitely look at cash. They'll get reporting mechanisms around what's happening in the business. Unfortunately, most of those are historical. They tell us what has happened. They also may not even have many measures around the people aspect of their business. So they need to, number one, look at those people and see if they're able to step up to the plate. And number two, have some measures to show whether or not they can. So those are the first two things that need to be addressed so that you can have your eye on tomorrow whilst controlling the ship today when the waters around you are stormy now and the sea looks rough ahead.
So the implication of this, Mary Helen, is that most business owner managers are driving along with their eyes firmly fixed on the rear view mirror. How do they change that?
Yes, that is right. And yes, they do need to change that. One way to change it is to think about what your measures are. So there are leading and lagging. And if you think about what your lagging measures are, all those ones that we just talked about in terms of finance, they're lagging indicators. They tell you what's happened. But think about what your leading indicators might be. So if you think kind of globally, that's the first place to start because they'll be bespoke for every individual business. But to get the concept across, thinking about things like the Purchasing Managers Index for the UK, if there is such a thing, and if the Purchasing Managers Index goes up, it means that many purchasing managers around the country in many different businesses are buying more. That's a leading indicator, isn't it? That shows that stock is going up, that people are thinking about what they're going to do with that stock. They probably have some kind of sales pipeline to fulfill. That's a great leading indicator. A while back, the Sunday Times, the back of the Sunday Times, the employment section used to be a great leading indicator. So 2 years ago, it was full of jobs for CEOs and PLCs, wasn't it? A year ago, it was full of jobs which were business to government, wasn't it? Today, it's thin. It's very thin. Those are kind of macro leading indicators. Within your own business, you're going to have leading indicators too, though, aren't you? You're going to have things like, how long does it take us to get a new product or service to market? That's a great leading indicator. I think a leading indicator might be around average order value. If we're doing what we're meant to do, as well as we're meant to do it, and we're squeezing the lemon, shouldn't our average order value go up? So these leading indicators show us that many activities have taken place beforehand in order to hit those numbers. So we need to look at what our leading indicators and our lagging indicators are. And then we also need to look at the business holistically. What tends to happen is we have a kind of a very sharp view on the finances, and that's completely right, but as we say, they're lagging. And increasingly, we have a sharper view on customers. So you'll find that people now talk about their customer pipeline and how they slice and dice that. They'll talk about what their routes to market are. They'll talk about search engine optimization in order to see how well their marketing is going. But what else are they doing around their customers? Are they measuring the lifetime value? Have you actually looked at the sales ledger to say, these are the customers that are buying our whole range of product and services, or are most of our customers only buying a few of the things we can do? Do we know what the business plans of our customers look like? Do we know what their strategic horizon is? If we do, we can match our product or service to suit it. So yes, we do measure sales. Do we measure them well enough? And then think about another area of the business, the processes, the things that we do to create the product or the service that we're going to deliver. So are we squeezing more from that? Is our profitability per employee going up? i.e., are we getting smarter and better at everything we do? If we are, our profit per employee should be going up. In terms of our processes as well, have we got capacity? Year on year, are we building capacity without massively increasing costs or degrading quality? So are we creating a balance of measures, a balanced view of the whole business so that we can afford to take our eye off the day-to-day and look at the sight line? And then finally, we probably get to the people.
It's often said the toughest nut to crack, though, when you're building a business is the quality and performance of the people. How can you use this approach to help improve these?
Okay, that is a really, really key question, because many owner-managers, because they work so much in the business, have found that they develop cultures where people delegate up. So their senior management team may delegate many of the key answers to what needs to be improved in the business up to the owner-manager. That's very, very difficult to overcome. So what we have to do is look at the key performance indicators that show that the business is functioning well, and then the senior team to make sure they have the knowledge, the skills, and the attitudes to drive the business forward. That's really hard to do. The knowledge and the skills, actually you can kind of box up and say, we can take a reasonably formulaic approach to that. Are they technically proficient? Are they able to do the thing they're meant to do as the finance director or the sales director? Are they clear about what the process is involved there? But the final one around leadership, around management, and around attitude, that's a really tough nut to crack, because we've got to instill in that both the rigor about real performance day to day and delivery of the business day to day with inspiration. They need to be great leaders to lead the business through. Now, for strong owner-managers, that's a massive challenge, because it involves risk, and usually it involves loss. It involves giving up what they do now. And many of them find that bit of their day one of the most enjoyable bits. They lead it, and they lead it from the front, and they are the hero in the business. So what we need to do is, first of all, have some measures around what the core competence within the business are. So have we got a skills matrix that shows that we are getting better at everything we do? We probably need some way of actually recording and monitoring that, so some kind of performance review process. And all of that needs to be inextricably locked into the key performance measures for the business as a whole and cascaded down. And then, woven through all of that, we need to make sure that we're measuring our senior team as brilliant leaders and massive, massive managers, so that they can control a difficult ship in stormy seas, whilst the owner-manager is the captain looking at where this thing is going to go.
Thank you very much.